Long time no see. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. I know it's been roughly 3 whole weeks, guys, without a live stream, but your boy's been busy. I was out in New York, I was out in Vegas, and I had to come back. I had to handle some affairs, but I think we're all good now. A lot of busy stuff happening, a lot of stuff happening on the back end. I'll tell you guys about it towards the end of the stream. Don't you worry. It's all good things. It's all good things. Just making a lot of progress here. A lot of good stuff going on, so I'll tell you all about it pretty soon. But we're back, baby, and I'm happy to be back. I know some of you I see in the chat. I've seen you in the comments. I've not seen you in the live streams before, so welcome in, everyone. Super, super happy to have you. I see you out there, Christian, Fox. What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? What's up, Sean? I see you, Dennis. What's up, everybody? Seek, explore, find. Long time no see. Good to see you. Happy to have everyone in today. So we did get some pretty solid news today regarding inflation data. We got some good CPI data earlier. Some really good stuff. So I'm going to go over what this means, why I think that the crypto market is in a pretty good spot, why I disagree with the general sentiment around the crypto market right now, and why kind of what I'm doing right now. We'll do just a broad overview. A lot of our videos over the last a lot of our videos over the last couple of days have been really focused on what Bitcoin specifically is doing. We haven't had a lot of time to focus more in altcoins. So I am going to go over Bitcoin today, but I am going to also dive into the world of alts. We're going to see what these alts are doing. ETH, SUI, Solana, XRP, ADA, HBAR, ICP, SHIB, Pepe, Jasmy, Bonk, you name it, we got it. We're going to be doing it all today, and we're going to be doing it all live. So if you are ready for the stream, let me know. Press that little like button right on the forehead, and let's get right into it, okay? So what's up, everybody? Again, happy to have you in. I know it's been a while, so happy to have all you guys. Stein R, the captain of the notification squad, is here. Let's get into it then, shall we? So what happened today? Well, we got some pretty solid news. That's what happened today. Breaking. US CPI data came in at 2.4%. The expectations were, of course, at 2.5%, which is bullish for markets. Now, in addition to that, core CPI data also came in a little bit better than expected. All around, very good news. Now, the reason why this is so important, as many of you know, is that inflation data is one of the most, it's the most prominent factor in when the Fed will decide to make a move, right? So just to kind of break this down backwards, for those of you who may be a little bit new to the crypto space, the reason why we care about CPI data so much is because the Fed cares about CPI data so much. The Fed looks at CPI data and they say, okay, based on the CPI data, are we going to raise rates? Are we going to lower rates? Are we going to, are we going to keep interest rates flat? Are we going to do quantitative easing as a whole, quantitative tightening? What sort of strings are they going to pull that'll impact the economy? And that's so important to us because what they do with the economy is going to immediately impact the liquidity of, global liquidity, truthfully, but the liquidity within the world of crypto. So if the Fed, for example, is tightening up things and they're making money much harder to access, it's not good for crypto. If they're quantitative easing, making money easier to access, it's going to be very good for crypto. And they care about CPI data. So that's why we stare at it so much. And so whenever we get this news today saying that CPI data came in at 2.4%, when expectations are 2.5%, it means that it means that inflation data is coming in better than expected. And that's a great sign. Now, the Fed as a whole has said consistently, and our good old buddy and pal, Jerome Powell, has said consistently that they're aiming for 2%. And the fact that we're inching closer and closer to that feels nice. I think most of you in this chat would agree with me. We're all tired of it. We're all sick of talking about inflation data. We're tired of hearing 2%. 2% is the mark. 2% is the target mark for inflation data. And that's when we're going to decide what we're going to do. Until then, we have no way of knowing anything ever, and we don't know how to make a decision about anything. I think we're all ready to be past that, right? And so we're almost to that 2% mark, which is what everyone's kind of just been waiting on, which will obviously be a good thing. Now, how does this impact crypto as a whole? Well, it impacts crypto as a whole in a few ways. One, it gets us closer and closer to obviously being out of this stupidity whenever it comes to inflation and the Fed and yada, yada, yada. But in addition to that, it also kind of calms down some of the nerves of the market. I think one of the primary reasons as to why we have been seeing a little bit of lack of commitment from retail, a lack of commitment from the everyday investors, because there are many uncertainties floating around the economy right now. There are many uncertainties that are floating around the market in general. I mean, I wrote down a few of them just for fun. But I mean, there's, inflation. People are kind of concerned about that. US versus China. People were really concerned about that. And this also does apply to this is also like tariffs as well. Trump versus Elon. People are stupidly worried about that, right? Like, people are worried about all of these things. And as a result of their worry, they're just not really committing to the market. It's the reason why, we can go to something like here, Google Trends. We can go to Google Trends, and I mean, we can go look at this and see, that's not what I want to look up. Let's see, crypto. Let's just look up crypto, right? Like, there's a reason why people don't care. There's a reason why in the last 90 days, no one's looking up crypto. There's a reason why in the last 12 months, no one's looking up crypto. There's a reason why in the last 5 years, right now, no one cares. We are seeing levels in terms of interest right now that we were seeing, a little bit better than what we were seeing at the bottom of the bear market. And I think it's completely unjustified considering Bitcoin is literally at an all-time high. And this is because the general everyday investor just, one, feels like they don't have a lot of money, but two, that there are a lot of concerns in the market that are slowing them down. Now, the great part, though, is that we have been seeing these things kind of unraveling. They've been unraveling a ton over the last like week or two. And again, people just aren't talking about it, right? So like Trump versus Elon. Everybody was still worried, oh, Trump versus Elon. And that's what kind of quote unquote caused this first pullback that we saw here, right? I believe it was this one, maybe. Everybody, oh, Trump and Elon are arguing and it's not good. We're going to cry. We're going to all gather together. We're going to cry, right? And everybody got all worried about it, which was just so stupid. But, people got liquidated. It was just dumb. But now you go look. About an hour ago, Elon comes out, says he regrets some posts about Donald Trump, probably calling him a PDF. That's probably a place to start. I think that was a crazy thing to say. I don't know how you rekindle a friendship after saying some shit like that, but it is what it is. Teach their own. I don't know how billionaires think. But yeah, so like this whole Elon Musk situation, that's unraveling. US versus China. What will we get? What was this, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, 10 p.m., so about 12 hours ago or so, roughly. The U.S. and China have agreed on a framework to resolve their trade disputes. Boom. So now we're in a spot where the U.S. versus China situation is unraveling. Inflation. Boom. Inflation coming in better than expected, getting closer and closer to the 2% mark. I mean, it's all unraveling. Like we're starting to see all of these things that have been causing so much concern in the markets, so much worry in the markets. They're all coming back to fruition, and they're starting to get better. And I think this to me is just it's a key sign to me that we're in a great spot in the market. So many people in the market are so consistently saying like, oh, the top is in, oh, it's all over, the run is over, Bitcoin's done, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. If Bitcoin loses 100K, the bull market's over, which I think that's a funny piece of, a funny idea that people have. Like, if Bitcoin does this, now allegedly this whole entire bull market is over. Like, how does that make sense? I don't think so. I think all of the things that have been stifling this crypto market for the last 5 months are ending. I think all of the things that have been causing worry, uncertainty, panic, doubt in this moment are all starting to get canceled. They're all starting to unravel. They're getting in better positions. And so to me, when you mix in the raising of the curtain of uncertainty and you mix in the fact that liquidity itself, M2 money supply as a whole, is increasing, you see uncertainty dropping, liquidity increasing. That is a good formula for a bull market to continue in a risk-on asset class. So to me, I just don't see it. Now, is it possible that the bull market's coming to an end? Absolutely, it's possible. I just don't think so. And so because of that, I'm standing on that, and that's what I'm going to continue to believe. Now, you may say, Tyler, well, why do you think that there is a chance that the bull market's ending? Well, there are a couple reasons to why is there a chance, right? So like there are a couple things that need to be paid attention to. First and foremost, the fact that Bitcoin as a whole is starting to lose a little bit of momentum. Look, we put in a high, we put in a lower high here on the RSI, but in that moment we put in a higher high on the price. That means that as Bitcoin is going higher, it's losing momentum. Now, I think that's more likely due to the fact that there is uncertainty in the market that's driving away the strength and driving away the momentum, but to each their own. Now, in addition to that, we are seeing the market stalling out at an all-time high. Historically speaking, that's not a great thing to happen. The last time we saw something like this happen in this sort of fashion was right here, right before the bull market ended back in 2021, before this big pullback. Now, I think people are ridiculous because people also say, well, anytime that Bitcoin stalls out at an all-time high, the bull market's over. I'm like, that's just not true. Like, it's just blatantly not true. Look what happened here. Bitcoin's price was at these all-time highs, came down, built the bear market low, worked its way up, and stalled out from March all the way to November. 6 months. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7, 8 months. 7 to 8 months of just stalling right at an all-time high before popping up to an even further all-time high before Bitcoin put in a gain of, 60%, driving altcoins like XRP up hundreds of percentages. So I just think it's dumb logic. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And if somebody can break that down to me, I'd love to hear you out, but I've not seen one convincing argument to explain to me why just because Bitcoin is stalled out right here means the bull market has to be over, especially if we see Bitcoin fall below 100K. I just don't see it. Now, listen, there is a chance that I'm wrong, I suppose. I don't particularly think I could be wrong in this situation because I'm not saying for sure it's not over. I'm just saying I don't think it is. But let's say that it is over. Well, I guess this is oh well. But there's so much that needs to happen before I would be willing to say that that is the case. Like, so much has to occur here in this crypto market for me to believe that. Truth be told, guys, Bitcoin could go back to 74K and I still wouldn't believe it. We have intra-bull market consolidationary channels happening every single bull market. We have periods where Bitcoin will go sideways for 6 months up to a year and a half during a bull market before pumping again. Look back here, and people don't believe me when I say that. Look, look, look at this. The bear market ended here. The bull market started here. We didn't set a new lower low. Therefore, we did not end the bull market. We were still putting in higher highs and higher lows. We went sideways from July of 2019 to November of 2020. That's 16 months. So you're not going to convince me that the bull market's over just because Bitcoin might go below 100K. It's just stupid. I don't know why I started the stream off with a rant, but here we are. Because I've been seeing this thesis posted all over on Twitter. People, oh, the bull market's over. Bitcoin falls below 100K. Oh, the bull market's coming to an end. I'm like, okay, how? How is it that every single thing that has been causing the negative sentiment and the uncertainty in the market is coming to an end? It's coming to some sort of final point, right? Which will drive certainty to the market. We're getting further removed from all this Trump tariff dumb shit that has been going on from the White House, where, truth be told, people don't even care about the tariff situation anymore. US versus China coming to a resolution. Elon versus Donald coming to a resolution. Inflation coming to a resolution. Money supply growing. Uncertainty falling. How is that a convincing argument that the bull market's coming to an end? I just don't see it. Let me know. So with that in mind, I think that the news that we got today just further adds, and the reason why I went on this tangent, if you're just joining in, is because what we've seen today is just adding more fuel to my fire. That I think crypto is still in a great opportunity, and that I think that there are still possible gains. Now, am I still does that mean that I'm just gonna go all in on crypto? No, of course not. Why would I do that? No, obviously not, right? I do my buying in bad periods. I don't do my buying in moments like right now, right? If anything, I might take profits today. But it just means to me that I am expecting that there will be more gains to be made, no matter how this goes. If Bitcoin's price wants to come back down and go all the way back down to $73,000 for some reason, let it. I don't really care, quite frankly. If it wants to pump all the way up to $129,000 and come back down to 109 and bounce around again, I don't care, let it. I'm just not convinced. I'm heavily not convinced that there are just no more gains going to be on the way. I think people are bored, and I think people just want something to say. I think they're bored of the fact that Bitcoin's been sitting in the same little area for like 6 months, and then they're just like, I don't know, something, what's something that I can say to get under people's skin, right? Like that, I think that's the case. But all jokes aside, like what we saw today is good news. What we saw today is a great sign that the market is moving back in a better direction. And I'm not just talking about crypto. I'm also talking about like the stock market, right? Like if we go look at VOO, for example, like it is moving in a much better place. It has ultimately recovered the majority of the drop. And I think the crypto market or the stock market has been much more reasonable. Like the stock market got worried, right? Whenever we saw all of this stuff happening with tariffs, and then obviously we saw some negative earnings and things weren't very good. The stock market reflected that negativity. But now that all of these things are kind of coming back and like the worry is getting lifted off the table, the stock market's just carrying on about its merry way. And most stock investors are in a pretty happy spot. Like you go look at stock YouTube and the sentiment there is super positive. Like people are like, yeah, we're back. Like we know we had a little rough moment there, but it's all good. Whereas crypto, on the other hand, everyone's like, we're going to die. And the reason why that's happening is because of altcoins, right? The reason why everybody's so like just pissed, I guess, in the crypto market right now is because alts they've just not been doing that good, right? You look at ETH is still down a lot. You look at Solana, it's still down a lot. SUI, down a lot. XRP, down, not down a lot, right? ADA, down a lot. HBAR, down. ICP, down. SHIB, Pepe, Jasmy, Bonk, Caspa, Doge, Render, BNB, Brett, you get it, right? You get the point. They're all down. And since altcoins are down, people are just screaming for some reason that this is the end of the world, although I don't agree. Because if you go look at something like Bitcoin dominance is quite clearly showing a loss of strength. The Bitcoin dominance that we had from the beginning of 2025 all the way to now is not the same Bitcoin dominance we have right now. Now that Bitcoin dominance has broken down out of this ascending channel, now that it has lost some of the support, it's clearly waning in strength. I mean, look at volume, for example, right? Look how we flatlined. No more growing. No more picking up, no more dropping, just flatlining. And as it's flatlining, we're losing these support levels. We lost the key support level. We came back down to this bounce zone. We used the bounce zone. Now it's at the Fibonacci golden zone, and it's struggling bad. And while it's struggling, we're seeing this RSI correcting on the dailies. We can see the weekly RSI is also starting to wane off as if it's about to put in some sort of continuation back down towards the 50. I mean, the Bitcoin dominance is very, very clearly showing signs of weakening. And what does that mean? Well, historically, it means that when the time comes, and listen, that does not mean it can't do this. It still might, but I would consider this to be the last hoorah. Like when you're going upwards and you start showing signs of weakness, it doesn't mean you can't go up anymore. It just means you're going up. It's probably going to end at some point. And what this means to me is that whether Bitcoin dominance wants to have one more hoorah or whether it wants to drop now, right? Whichever way this wants to go, I think we're in a spot where altcoins are going to have their shine. They're going to have their moment. And it seems to me as if this could be perfectly aligning with a Q3, Q4 rally for altcoins. Now, that's obviously just a guess. I have absolutely no reason to believe that outside of the fact that that has been what has happened historically. But the truth of the nature here is that quarter three and quarter four are historically some of the most bullish periods for all of crypto. Look at last year, the year before that. Look at 2021. Look at what happened in 2017 and 18. Like, historically, Q3 and Q4 are very bullish periods. And the fact that we're seeing Bitcoin pushing at all-time highs when no one cares at all, like no one's even looking at crypto right now, all of the altcoin investment, community is pretty pissed off for no reason. Bitcoin dominance is starting to show signs of weakening while the economy is getting back to a better place. It's hard to convince me that this isn't a good setup for a risk-on rally where we could see things like alts giving us gains. Now, does this mean that ETH is going to go to $10,000 this year? No, probably not. It's probably not going to do that. I think that's going to take some time. But could ETH push back up towards $4,000? Could Solana push back up to $240? Yes. Could SUI push back up to $5? Yes. XRP up towards $5? Yes. All of these things are possible. And although they are not a guarantee, I think if I had to bet my life on one of these things, I would probably bet on a rally this year, then this being the end of the bull market. And so all things considered, the fact that Bitcoin's price has held up during summer, remember that as well. Bitcoin, look, think about how wild this is, right? Bitcoin in the middle, almost in the middle of the summer, right? We're getting close to the middle of the summer. In the middle of the summer is holding the same levels that it got to in a Q4 rally. But people yet have the audacity to say that Bitcoin is not doing good, that the crypto market's not doing good. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I think we are seeing a combination of a retail, what's a word that won't offend people? Retail, I don't know. The retail investors being soft. Let's just go ahead and say that. Retail investors being soft and a mixture of course, manipulation. And of course, a mixture of manipulation. Because as we have been going sideways and as we have been seeing these drops and these pumps, of course, people are getting liquidated out the wazoo, right? I mean, if we just go to CoinGlass, I don't know if I have it pulled up here, but if we just go over to CoinGlass, I mean, you can see it. Like, let's just go to liquidation. Let's do view and then let's go to liquidation history. I mean, you can see it. I'm not just making that up. Like, look, from November of 2024 to now, I mean, the liquidations have been heavy. So if these whales, if these lizard people, right, no lizard people allowed, but if these lizard people can absolutely decimate traders while keeping the price at the same point, of course they're going to. And it's under my assumption that we will not see this crypto market really gain momentum until this starts to die off more. Now, I will say the lows are getting lower. Like the amount of liquidations to the upside, for example, are dramatically dropping. And outside of this one move right here, the majority of the short investors who are getting liquidated is also dropping. So the total cumulative amount of liquidations happening on a daily or weekly basis is dropping in more of a macro sense if we're looking at like 6 months, 7 months. And so I do believe we are getting towards an end of this thing, but we definitely could stay here for a while, right? While crypto investors are kind of being a little bit dumb, and while people are being emotional, making these huge emotional, impulsive decisions of longs and shorts, it's going to be a perfect combination for the crypto market to stall out and for the whales to just keep liquidating everyone. Market makers are absolutely feeding on the crypto market right now. And if I was one of them, I would just keep doing this. I would have absolutely no reason to let this market move naturally as it's going to, whenever I could simply just keep liquidating all these people while institutions are consistently, doubling down, while they're consistently buying up all the crypto that all of these emotional traders want to sell to them. So like the people who sold whenever Trump and Elon started arguing, like if you're one of them, if one of the 600 of you watching this right now is one of them, it's like good for you. Like this is good for you. I hope this is a lesson. Like don't do that again. But like, so overall, That's like my broad thoughts on the market. I didn't even mean to get into my broad thoughts on the market just yet, but I just felt like it was a good flow. And again, the whole reason why I'm talking about this is because, again, what we got today is just a further sign that what I'm saying is like, I don't want to say right, but like on track to some degree. Okay. And so that's where we are. So before I actually move into the next segment of the video, which is where I start diving into some of these alts, I want to give you guys like 5 minutes and just check out the chat because I just said a lot. And I'm curious about your guys' thoughts. Like, do you think that the bull market is like at an end, like it's about to end? And do you think that like what are you guys' general thoughts on the market right now? Sorry for the rant, by the way. Come back after 3 weeks and just start screaming in your ears. Summer just started yesterday in upstate New York. Yeah, it's crazy. It was so cold in New York when I was there. Going to Mexico to sell my kidney to buy more crypto. Maybe not the best idea to buy now. I wouldn't personally be, unless you're new to the market. The word is retail, poor mind. Retail isn't really in the market right now. Everything is being supported by institutional, bullish sentiment. Big money equals smart money. Agreed. In the end, market makers still win with a bull run more than they win with liquidation hunting. So they won't hunt to the point of it. I agree. I do agree with that. Don't forget to smash the like button. Absolutely, you get it. Should we jump to big altcoins right now? Seems like Bitcoin volatility doesn't affect alts too much. It's not a bad idea to start doing small rotations. I have been, and I'll show you guys some of the things I've been doing in a little while here. What's up, Outright? Good to see you, homie. Always great to see you. Bearish divergences will most likely invalidate and will end rally by early October. Very possible. Incredibly possible. I think we have 2 more months for the bull market. July, August. I've never seen a bull market end in August in any market, but that's interesting. Bitcoin dominance will drop, so bull run still on. Love it. Bullish blessing Tyler. Shout out, John. Think we're going a lot higher. I think it's possible. SPX is still been good to see. Maybe one more dip than rip, and we just rip it over the next 6 to 12 weeks would be fantastic. Love the rant. Keep it coming. Oh, I'm a ranter. How can we be in a bull market if retail isn't in? Because prices are at all-time highs. From meme coins to something more real. Yep. For the bull market to be over, you would have to invalidate so many things that it would essentially make all market analysis and TA completely useless. So no, it's not over. I would agree on many parts there, actually. I think we top at 140 to 150 Bitcoin. What is your top? When and what is your top of the cycle Bitcoin price? I think that the bull market ending sometime like within the next 12 months is more reasonable to me. I think we're going to have a period in time in which the crypto market goes, like we're going to experience being in crypto at a time of quantitative easing. Like there will be a point in time where the powers that be do pull back some of these constraints and restrictions on the economy, opening up the door for more capital investment, capital access. We're going to see quantitative easing again at some point. I think we're going to see reductions in interest rates. Like we're going to see all of these things happen eventually. And when that happens, I don't particularly think it's going to be an immediate bull market, but I do think what comes as a like a sub effect of those things will eventually be a bull market. And so I'm honestly not super on board with the narrative that we're like going to end the bull market this year and then we're going to go into like a 3-month bear market or 3-year bear market or 2-year bear market, because I think it would be foolish to think that the narrative, the macro narrative isn't changing. It's of course it's changing. And to me, I think that's going to be the question mark. And so for me, there is a piece of me that does kind of believe that with institutional and investment that we could be moving more in a direction of super cycles is the word that always causes bear markets, but something in the sense that it's more like for Bitcoin specifically, its price is able to float and maintain for much longer and much more than usual. And so I would say I think we're going to hit all-time highs for like some altcoins sometime this year. I think that's reasonable. From there, what happens afterwards, that's where the question mark is. Because 4-year cycle theory would say that we would hit a top sometime this year or last year, right? And then we would have like spend like all of next year and probably even the next year like just down. But say, for example, at the end of this year, we do see, interest rates being reduced, if we're seeing capital investment increasing, if we're seeing a more risk-on environment over, say, 4 or 5 months, how would the crypto market not go into some sort of recovery as a result of that? That does not make sense to me. So I think that we are on like kind of the precipice of the 4-year cycle theory being broken. Not broken, you can't particularly break a theory, but like being changed, or that the crypto market may start to diverge a little bit away from 4-year cycle theory sometime soon. So I'm not quite sure, but I do think that it is well within reason to assume that within the next 12 months, we will see all-time highs again for many altcoins. Bitcoin's already there, obviously, but I do think that will translate and rotate into altcoins at some point once we do see people shift their direction and their sentiment back to more of a risk-on environment. Now, I think it can also be fueled by institutional investment. I think we are in the institution cycle. It's something I've said for about 5 months now. I don't think this is a crypto cycle like we've ever seen before, hence why Bitcoin is floating at all-time highs in the middle of the summer. There is more stability here in the crypto market. There is more smart money investment, which historically is more stable. And so because of that, I think once we do see the institutions turn their eyes to more of a risk-on investment thesis and profile as well, I think that's going to put us in a spot to where altcoins do start to perform based on institutional investment, which in many degrees could increase the possible upside while also decreasing the volatility, meaning that we could see something like ETH eventually perform like Bitcoin, where it holds up well, it does well, and it still pumps. So to me, all things considered, I do think we will enter into an environment in which people are more risk on, including institutions. And when that day comes, I do think the sub effect of that will be the crypto market pumping. When does that happen? I have absolutely no idea, but it's the primary reason as to why, although I am still taking profits today, I am not taking gigantic amounts of profits because I do still see the potential upside as being like clear as day. So that's my macro thoughts whenever it comes to, when, where, what, how, why, whatever. Do you think the Trump pump in December, January changed everything? Maybe retail, that FOMO in January lost it all, and now retail's still trying to cover 100%. Yeah, I would absolutely say that makes a ton of sense to me. And I think that what we saw in December and November was some sort of mini blow off top, and the crypto market has been in recovery since then. But the truth is that while in recovery, we've seen Bitcoin's price maintain and stabilize in levels in which it's never done before. And that's a great sign that the market's maturing. And I think that is going to be something that does trickle down into altcoins eventually as well. I don't think real people are selling when this news comes out. I think it's algorithm bots running the market. I do agree, but I know people personally who sold. So I think, like, for the most part, I think the majority of price movement is determined by algorithmic botting, but I do think that there are still retail investors who are becoming incredibly, incredibly emotional at every sign of news because they're frustrated. I think many of you would probably agree when I say that boredom is one of the worst emotions on earth. Like, I've been sad. I've gone through, bouts of depression. I've gone through bouts of excitement, bouts of happiness. Like, whenever you put a full spectrum of emotions together, I do genuinely believe that boredom is one of the worst of those emotions that can cause some of the most ridiculous ass reactions out of human beings. And so when you put a crypto market, a very volatile market, in a period of boredom, it's going to cause investors to make just dumb mistakes. And that is what I do believe we're seeing as well. So I think it's an accumulation of botting as well as boredom. Anyway, Bitcoin is nearing the end of its cycle, but also just experienced a bear trap. I think that's a reasonable assumption. What do you think of ZBCN? I've seen it a ton. I was super busy this month, so I didn't have a chance to check it out. Golden Cross on XRP. All right. You heard about Axelar? I have. I just haven't really looked at it. It didn't seem super interesting to me. Altcoins are gearing up. Let's see. I've been trading Bitcoin, but I keep selling when I make small profits, but it's hard to accumulate and hold. Well, accumulation and holding is quite simply just a choice, right? So, like, yeah, I've been trading Bitcoin, but I keep selling when I make small profits, but it's hard to accumulate and hold. Well, the smart play, in my opinion, in that situation would just be to stop selling so much, right? So you can buy $100 of Bitcoin. If it goes up by $20, take $3 out, put that $3 in your pocket, distribute it into your profit allocation, system, whatever that may be, and then leave that other $17 worth of profit in to continue to generate more profits and compound, right? So just stop selling so much. Never a bear market again next 5 years. I don't agree with that. Kate is everyone's financial advisor. Kate is absolutely my financial advisor. You guys should go to Kate O'Neill's channel and tell him he's my financial advisor. Mini alt season here for a couple weeks with good inflation data and markets pricing and no Fed rate cut already. The full alt season later in the year. Super reasonable. Thought I understood was we were waiting for Bitcoin to stabilize and dominance to drop before it moves on to the next phase. So why would this be the end of the run now? Surely we haven't done that yet. No, we've definitely not done that yet. You're completely right. Do you think that changes in regulations are keeping retail hesitant? No. I think that the legislation / regulation landscape is becoming much more appealing to most retail investors. I think most retail investors who are in the know are looking at it like, oh no, we're in a better spot. Like, it looks as if like the government's pulling back the chains a bit, or removing the chains a bit from retail and from institutions, from companies, from people just trying to build in crypto. So I think if anything, it's propelling retail to want to come back in. I think it's more macro uncertainty around the economy that's stopping them. You're going to wake up one day and alts are going to be 10x. It's going to happen when you don't expect it. The FOMO chase begins. Agreed. Probably so. 12 months. Good luck with that, chap. I'm out of here by December the latest. Best of luck to you, homie. Took a risk on Thursday and used my profit to invest in a meme called Mog, up 30% right now, taking profits. That was a hell of a play. I'm glad it worked this time. It won't work most times. What do you think about Pi? Pi's just not my cup of tea. Do you prefer DCA bots or futures trading when it's fully bull market? Whenever we're in the middle of a real bull market, I go usually pretty completely manual. So I actually don't automate any of my trading or any of my dollar cost averaging at all. And the reason why I say that is because bull markets are some of the craziest moments on earth. There are so many variables that are going to immediately affect the outcomes, right? So whenever I'm using a DCA bot or like a few I kind of see what you mean. So you're saying like futures trading, you're not saying trading bots. I prefer personally to do like 70-80% dollar cost averaging, just taking profits on more of a macro perspective, but then I'll allocate like 20-30% of my time, effort, energy, and capital to futures trading. Just because it's so easy to make money during bull markets, like real bullish periods where we're running, it's so easy to make money. Institutions won't allow a 3-year bear market. I agree. Bitcoin supply shock and squeezing. That's something I completely forgot to mention. I'm not going to dive into it, but yes, the supply shock is another thing. That's reasonable. I would have to think in the following bear market, the market obviously will be short, but I reckon we could see 25-30% pumps here and there from this bear market to liquidate huge amounts of shorts, 100%. The bear market is going to be packed with pumps, more packed with pumps than any bear market we've seen previously, which I believe is going to stabilize the bear market and shorten it as well. Because I think it's just going to be too easy. Like the lizard people are going to see people heavily shorting on 500x leverage, being stupid, and then you're just going to see those people just get decimated, for sure. Love the answer. It's exactly what I was looking for and what I'm thinking. Thanks, bro. Absolutely. You got it. Very bullish. Let's go. All right, we're going to move on in a second here. The 4-year cycle will always be a thing because of the halvings, but it will slowly diverge more over time. I completely agree. I think that the 4-year cycle itself, of course, will always continue as a result of the halving. I'm more talking about 4-year cycle theory, which is the kind of like a construct that, we have this year as a pump, this year is a blow off top, this year is consolidation, this year is a dump, or whatever it may be, right? Like the general 4-year breakdown. I think it's more that our position within the halving, or in our position in, what's the word I'm looking for? Relation, I suppose, with the halving will then dictate certain things, right? So like around the halving, I think things will get pretty bullish. I think 2 years after the halving, things will probably get decently bearish or kind of quiet, but I don't particularly think it is going to be enough to dictate the entirety of where we are as a whole, right? Like I don't think it's going to be the cause or effect on a bull versus bear market. What's the highest Bitcoin go this bull market? I don't know. I'm kind of gauging like it just depends. It depends on what you mean by bull market and like what your time horizon is. It's my first cycle, started in August last year, so hard to tell you, but I have a feeling we have better things coming. I agree. And if you started in August, that means you should be up at least a decent amount, right? Let me know, because that puts Bitcoin right around like 60 grand. Do you think having a changing regulatory environment is keeping retail from engaging? So I mentioned that earlier. No, I actually think it's more the opposite. I think if anything, it is causing more retail to be more active. Love it. I'm in recovery. Very good. Yep. When market makers dump a solid portion of that dump is always going to be emotional traders. Yep. Agreed. Incoming bear market will be different. Ever since market is at all-time high manipulation, market could be pumping 20-30% to liquidate shorts repeat. Agreed. All right, we're going to go ahead and get a move on here, I think. Just making sure. I don't want to... I hate to skip over your questions. I'm so sorry, but we do need to kind of get going on some technical analysis. Mr. Nibbles is in the house. Shout out to Mr. HMZ. Okay, fantastic. I will try to get to your questions at the end of the stream, but let's move on a little bit, guys, and gals, and let's dive into some TA, okay? So as I have told you, I do believe that we are still in a period in which Bitcoin is in control, and I think that's quite obvious. Like, Bitcoin season index. It's probably better to type altcoins. It's the same thing, okay? Like, we are still clearly in a period where it is Bitcoin season, right? But I do think we are starting to show signs that will come towards, like, there will be change eventually. I think that there will be a time in which Bitcoin dominance does break down. Dropping sub 60 seems super reasonable to me. So to me, I do think we are going to see that shift, but we are still in Bitcoin season. So keep that in mind with everything that I'm about to say. When I look at Ethereum, I just want to kind of show you guys what I would do. So if I'm looking at ETH and I'm trying to decide, like, okay, how do I feel about this thing? Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is the macro structure. And I'm going to say, okay, from a more macro perspective, what sort of structure are we creating here? Are we creating some sort of wedge? Are we creating some sort of like, sliding structure? What may it be? And I would say pretty reasonably that we're creating something that looks like this. So some sort of more consolidationary channel. Now, I think it's even more reasonable to assume that, especially when you do look at the weekly candles, because it's just the picture gets clear that although ETH has been underperforming performing. It is still maintaining quite decently well. We saw ETH accomplish a full reset on the weekly RSI, which is a very hard thing to do. We saw ETH on the Bollinger Bands come back several times all the way to the very bottom side, getting full overextension down there. We saw volume get a reset, as you can see here. We saw a beautiful reset right around this time period, but now increasing a little bit as we are now putting in regional highs. In addition to that, we can also see that our moving averages on a weekly basis have had time to kind of work their way into the structure as well. And then from a more Elliott's wave theory perspective, you can see that this has technically given us a period in which we could see kind of a cool down after what could be. I don't personally think that this was wave 5. I think that we are currently still in wave 4. I think this was wave 3. I think this was wave 4, which could be putting ETH in a position to go up for wave 5. So there is reason to believe that ETH could be trying to go and pursue some sort of higher wave towards the upside over time. Obviously, that is just a guess. But overall, what we can see is that from a more macro perspective, ETH has just been consolidating for several years at this point, but it is still holding up decently well. Now, as I mentioned before, ETH over the last year or so, year and a half or so roughly, it has been holding up quite decently well. Again, getting a full reset here on the weekly RSI, which is quite difficult to do, but it did come back down to the bottom side of that range. It has now also used that support from right here to break above this previous point of support, failing to establish this as resistance, which is a very bullish sign. And so for ETH, I think that the path is extremely simple. ETH quite simply just needs to be able to break the golden zone, which it's trying to do now. If ETH is capable of breaking the golden zone between 2,700 and 3,200, the door up to 5.4K and 7.9K does open wide. I think it is well within reason that ETH can make this move. Listen, I'm not a super big fan of ETH because I think that the Ethereum Foundation has completely abandoned many of their initial missions, but that's a topic for another day. But putting my own personal bias to the side, I think it is incredibly reasonable to assume that the next thing to follow Bitcoin back up towards an all-time high would be Ethereum. And the fact that we are seeing, these little rumblings, people getting excited, ETH is still, dude, it's up freaking 100%, right? Considering it is making this move, it has all this room to run to the upside. You look at your Bollinger Bands, for example, it still is not overextended to the top side, and it won't be until it breaks the golden zone. I think that it is well within the realm of reason that ETH could try to break this golden zone, use this to push back up towards this $4,000 all-time high, and if possible, break that, push up towards 5.4K. So I think all of those things are well within the world of reason. I don't particularly think it's going to happen fast. I don't think that ETH is just going to go straight up like this. It might take some time, right? Maybe a pump to 3.2, maybe then come back down to 2.6, range bound, maybe make a little bit of a move, and the next thing you know, we're kind of into this year, next year when it tries to make a run. Honestly, don't know, but I do think it's within reason that it can happen. Now, the flip side of that obviously is that we do need to see ETH get into and above this golden zone pretty decently quickly, right? The truth is that now we are at the most important point of resistance that there is in crypto. And that is, of course, the weekly golden zone. The weekly golden zone, or the macro golden zone, is the scariest zone of resistance that there is for crypto. Because truth is, if ETH is unable to clear above this, it is extremely likely that it's going to fall back down to the mid to low thousands, right? $1,500 to $1,000. That's extremely likely. And so ETH is at a battle right now. This is an actual test between the bulls pushing the price up, the bears pushing the price down to see who is going to win control over this golden zone, because it is going to determine whether or not ETH is going to lead this charge up towards all-time highs or not. I think it is also well within reason that if ETH does push up towards an all-time high, it will lead most altcoins up as well, and likely be the very thing that does cause Bitcoin dominance to drop. So with that in mind, with ETH, it's extremely simple. We just need to be watching this. This is going to take some time, so we're not in a rush right now. There's no need to be rushing on ETH. There's no need to be doing anything too crazy. I have done the occasional dollar cost average on it recently, but nothing super big, because again, this is going to be the determining moment for ETH going forward. So I just want to see how this plays out. Okay. So that's where we are with ETH. I don't particularly think it's the best time to buy. I don't think it's the worst time to buy. It's kind of in the middle. It just depends on your risk appetite. If you're willing to possibly stomach a loss of, 50%, then fine, it's a good time to buy ETH. Because I do think that there could still be gainers here. I think ETH back to an all-time high is 50%. ETH pushing to its first breakout zone is 91%. Its second breakout zone is over 170%. And so if you are very confident and you have conviction that ETH can hit these levels, I don't think it's a terrible time to buy it. It is just extremely risky because we're at the top of a move into a macro point of resistance. So there is a lot of risk associated with that. You just have to determine if that's worth it to you. It's personally not worth it to me. I'd rather just be holding. I don't remember the last time that I purchased ETH. Let's see. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, so the last time that I bought ETH was on May 29th, which I allocated 5% of my profit reinvestment into ETH. On May 29th, that puts the price of ETH right at right here. So it'd have been like 2,600 bucks. So I'm still like barely profitable in that. So again, I'm just not super interested in doing any dollar cost averaging. Okay. Okay, let's go forward. So let's jump into Solana. So Solana is looking a little bit differently. Solana obviously did get that very nice breakout of the descending structure, worked its way up, all that good jazz. Let's just get rid of this. We don't need any of this now, because what we can see is that Solana's price came back towards the 33 level, the correction level for its RSI. As you can see, this is a level where Solana has bounced off of several times. It bounced off of it right here. It's bounced off of it right here. This is Solana's oversold region. And if you've been watching Solana for a while, you know that. So like, look what happened right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Every time that Solana gets back towards that 33 level, it does try to give a bounce. And so what this means to me is that Solana is still looking pretty decently good, right? It came back down. It got the full reset that it needed. I mean, it really, really, really needed this full reset that we got here. Pumped back up, gave us a bit of a runner here on the dailies. Then it came back down on another reset back to that 30, and it's trying to continue. I mean, it reset to the same level right here, but the difference in those lows is insane. What this means is that Solana has been trying to gain some strength, and it has been resetting much faster. And usually that does try to open up the door for an upward move. It seems to me as if Solana may be waiting on ETH to make its move with its golden zone before determining what they're going to do. But overall, all in all, I think that Solana is actually in a pretty decent spot, and it wouldn't shock me at all if we do see Solana start following in ETH's footsteps trying to pursue this golden zone. Now, the good part is that is still a ways away. That is around $193 to $234. So I would say it is well within reason that Solana could still see a push of anywhere from 16 to 40% towards the upside as it goes try to make a run for its own golden zone. The only thing about Solana that I would be a little bit concerned about is the fact that it did technically break the lows back here. We had these lows. We put in lower lows. Lower low is not the best thing ever to happen, especially as we are now at the golden zone. So it is worth watching. But if you just look at what happened here, like as Solana has been going sideways and as it has been consolidating, look at the weekly RSI and just look what happened here. I mean, such a macro reset, such a great reset here for Solana's price, to the point that even if it did fall to say $55, which I don't think is going to happen, but say if it fell to $55, we would get such a great overset here on this RSI that I think the likelihood of that bad boy just flying towards all-time highs would be gigantic. I'm talking 50, 60, 70%. And so to me, it's like, okay, I think Solana's in a decent spot right now, and I think it's probably in a spot where I would be willing to do a little bit of buying. But even if it, even if it did pull back from there, I would become increasingly more likely that Solana is going to break out towards that all-time high after this pullback, that I wouldn't even be scared. So it's like buying a little bit here, buying a little bit more if it goes lower. I think that's fine. If you do have a big bag of Solana, probably just leaving it alone. My average cost for Solana still does remain right around $32. So my average cost for Solana is right here. So I'm personally up, 5x or so roughly. So I'm still kind of just holding. I'm not doing a ton. The last move that I made on Solana was on this day. I bought a little bit of Solana, and then before that was on May 6th. No. It couldn't have been May 6th. Hold on. Yeah, and it was just taking profit. So I've only bought Solana once over the last couple months, and that was whenever I did that more macro reinvestment of profit. So, yeah, that's where we are with Solana. I think it's in an okay spot, not the greatest spot, not the best spot, not the worst spot, just an okay spot. But I do think that Solana pushing up towards 193 to try to break into this golden zone makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway, I'll come back to that. So that's where we are. Yo, y'all are so wild. That's where we are. Let's dive into SUI. Okay. So what's happening with our good old pal SUI here? I have a lot going on this chart. Tried to break the golden zone, got rejected off of it, came back down for the back test. Let's see. I'd like to just give this a little reset. Let's just give this a bit of a reset, but I will go put it back. Okay. Because I just want to be able to paint this big picture. So okay. So what we can see is that, did y'all see that Tyler Hill Jr.? That's so crazy. Okay. So what happened with SUI is like incredibly obvious to me. Okay. SUI's price putting in all-time highs, putting in higher lows, okay? Higher highs, higher lows, working its way upwards. What it did is that it broke up towards its previous all-time high. It stalled out right here as we did get overbought, but then it did give us one more rally, pushing up towards this new $5.27 all-time high. Now, as it did that, we could clearly start to see that momentum was being lost, and we were actually sounding the sirens, like sounding the horns back here, like, hey, this is actually worrying. And the reason I say that is because remember how on the dailies I told you about this ascending channel and I said, hey, we sold like right here and right here because like, hey, I think we're going to break down out of this. And if so, things could get ugly. Well, that is what happened. And we saw SUI's price pull back. Now, what's beautiful about it is that it had this previous point of resistance that it then flipped into support. And then it used that support to now work its way all the way back up to this Fibonacci golden zone. And so what's so cool about that is SUI is making textbook movement. It's going from, resistance to support, using support to go to golden zone, getting rejected off of golden zone, coming back down. And now what it's trying to do is just try to flip another point of resistance into support. So if you zoom in a little bit, look what happened right here. Do you see how it now took this previous point of resistance and is trying to use this as support to try to push above the golden zone? So he's actually making some very textbook moves here. And this is actually a great sign for a crypto the size of SUI because it says that it is maturing and it's maturing fast, especially for its age. And so because of these things, to me, I would actually go ahead and say that SUI is in a very good spot. Not a spot to where I would want to really be doing a bunch of buying. We did some buying on SUI all throughout this pullback, so I don't see the urge to be purchasing now. But I would more just be saying, okay, now's the time to really watch. SUI is currently sat right below this golden zone. If it pushes up into it and above it, I think that, seeing SUI push up towards eventually $7 or $10 is extremely reasonable. But obviously it pulling back would be a little bit concerning because it could be setting up SUI for like that more descending structure move, right? That is possible, which could entail SUI coming back down towards $1. So knowing that there are huge moves on the horizon for SUI, depending on what happens at the golden zone, I wouldn't really be doing a lot of buying. I really wouldn't be doing a lot of selling. I would just be leaving it alone for the most part, letting this play out, see what happens with ETH, see what happens with Bitcoin dominance, because I think all of these things are going to be a huge factor as to what happens with SUI on if we do break that golden zone or if we do get rejected off of it. So SUI is in a good spot from a macro perspective, but a very risky spot until we can see what happens here with the golden zone. Okay. Now, I don't want to harp too much because I think you guys are kind of understanding where I'm getting at. Most macro cryptos are getting towards their golden zone, and it makes a lot of sense. Bitcoin has been sitting at all-time highs. Bitcoin dominance is starting to fall while we're seeing the macro landscape starting to get a bit better. What's happening is that people are contemplating whether or not they want to go risk on. And so while they're having this thought, this idea, this possibility brewing in their minds, right? That is going to put altcoins in a perspective where they're going to run up to key resistance levels. You're going to see the challenges on the charts aligning with the challenges in real life. Uncertainty, resistance, and they're gonna correlate. There's a lot of confluence between what's happening in real life and what's happening on the charts. And so the fact that the world is kind of at a pause deciding whether or not it's going to go risk on or not, while most cryptos are reaching macro Fibonacci zones, is normal. It's just what happens. I don't know how it works, but it is very correlated. I've seen this year after year after year for the last couple of years. Okay. So yeah, that is kind of where most of them at. Now, XRP is a little bit of a different story, but it is very similar. And I can't stop looking at this shit. XRP is in a bit of a different story because I don't even think people recognize what XRP is doing. So to me, it seems like XRP is actually making one of the healthiest corrections for an altcoin that I've seen after a parabolic period. We all have to admit that XRP went euphoric. It went parabolic. Everything that was happening for XRP was absolutely nuts. And the fact that since then, instead of just macro crashing, which it normally would, I mean, look at history, look what it normally would do. The fact that it's holding is a sign that something's happening. We've now seen the RSI reset all the way from a 91 level all the way back down towards a 50 level down here, which is a huge reset. And sure, it might go lower, but the 50 level is a great starting place, right? And historically speaking, we have seen many a time in which we've seen XRP bounce off of this 50 area-ish and then use it to try to continue upwards. And so for me, what it seems like is that instead of XRP having a huge battle at its Fibonacci golden zone, which it is at the golden zone, right? If you do this and then this, it is at the golden zone. I don't think that's what's super important right now. I more think that XRP is struggling from a structural perspective. And when it can finally break out of this descending structure, that's when the door towards the upside will open. So many of these cryptos are having their own battles, most of which being at the golden zone, but XRP's is a bit different because it's more of a structural battle that's happening here. Now, it is true that, many of you will say, well, once it breaks out of the structure, then it has to deal with the golden zone. So that is true. So maybe saying that, the golden zone is unimportant isn't fair, but I just don't think it's important right now. I think we need to get out the structure, then we can worry about the golden zone, because that's what opens up the door for XRP to push towards $5.37, which is where I think it's going to go at some point. Yeah, so XRP's battle is a little bit different. Let's do we're going to do some rapid fire now. So now that you guys have a general understanding that the majority of the crypto market is just having battles, now let's just kind of rapid fire through some. So XLM is in a very good spot in the sense that it actually has been capable multiple times now of breaking above this descending channel. What I just want to see from XLM is like one whole week. Can we get one full week above this channel or not? If so, I actually will be considering doing some accumulation here on XLM, but I'm not going to do it because we've had too many moments where XLM has started to break above this channel, then failed. So I'm going to wait for it to break it before committing to it, but I will come back to this if we do get 1 week of being above this channel. Looking at ADA. ADA's still in a bit of a weird spot. It's honestly in a spot I don't even particularly like. I don't particularly like the fact that ADA is, it's hitting this golden zone, but it's really, really, really like just not performing well. And if you look at what ADA's doing from more of an RSI perspective, we're not getting anything super juicy happening there. You look at your Bollinger Bands, nothing really super juicy is happening there. That's a weird move there. You look at its moving averages, and the moving averages are kind of just bundling up under it right now. And so for ADA, what I would say is that, yeah, until it breaks like $1.77, I'm not even remotely interested. And that's so far away that it's just like, the fact that we're having these overlapping highs and lows are just not great. You guys know I'm not a big fan of ascending channels like at all. And that is precisely what ADA has been doing. You can even look at it in this way. It has been creating that ascending channel. It has been overlapping its pumps with its dumps. And just generally when this happens, it's not a sign of strength. ADA's not showing us a ton of strength. And so until it does, I'm just not very interested, to be honest. Okay. H-bar. H-bar is in a bit of a better spot. H-bar is getting in a better spot. And the reason that I say that is because it's actually systematically breaking out of this downtrend. So what you can see here is that H-bar was in this descending channel. It broke out of it, it back tested, and it held it. So I would actually say that H-bar is one of the few that I actually think is in a really decent spot for accumulation at this exact moment, because it was capable of breaking out of this structure and back testing it and holding the support. At the same time that happened, from a more macro perspective, we flipped this resistance into support and are also using this support to try to continue upwards. Now, yes, of course, H-bar is now going to start having to deal with its golden zone, which is where its price is getting close to. But considering there is still some separation there and we are still, 40-50% away, I actually think that H-bar is one of the few on my list that I probably would be accumulating even on a day like today. So I do think that it is worth checking out. So that is actually pretty good for H-bar. ICP is in the same spot that it's been for a while. I've told you all pretty consistently, I want to see ICP use this golden zone to bounce. I did tell you that doing some accumulation in the bottom side of this golden zone wasn't a bad idea, and that is holding up well still. I mean, that's giving you gains of anywhere from 30 to 40%. So shout out to everybody who was doing a little bit of accumulating there, especially considering we are seemingly building a bullish structure at the same time. Some people would call this, an inverted head and shoulders. Some people would call this a cup and handle. Some people would call this a fat Adam and a fat Eve, which is a crazy thing to say. That has to be one of the funniest memes on crypto Twitter, but that's what some people would call it. But one way or another, it is building bullish structure while we are in this golden zone. And one way or another, I think that ICP could be preparing for some sort of stronger move. What you want to see from ICP is the breaking of 650 and staying above it. If it can do that, I think it's in a fantastic spot. And I think there's many reasons to assume that XRP or ICP might try to work its way back up to like $10. So I think that's I think ICP is actually looking pretty good. I think it's looking pretty interesting. If it gets a breakout there, those purchases that were done, by many of you down towards some of these lower levels are going to be in great spots. So big, congratulations to you. Let's draw a little smiley face. I was going to draw a smiley face like this, but then I realized like that's not funny. But anyway, all right, let's move on. So looking at Chainlink is in a similar situation. Let's see here. So honestly, don't love what Chainlink's doing, if I'm going to be super honest. I don't love the fact that, so we had this consolidationary channel, right? We had this consolidationary channel and we pushed up on top of it. We came up to the golden zone. We came back and we back tested it. This was a great move. Breakout, golden zone, back test, support, break into the golden zone. This was a good move. This was the problem. The fact that, I think what we saw when 2025 started actually broke a lot of the momentum from Chainlink, and it's going to make it difficult for it to get a good run. Reasonably, had everything not happened with Trump coin and all that craziness, I actually think Chainlink would have been primed to push up towards like $104 or so, which I know sounds crazy, but I actually do believe it. I think we would have seen Chainlink anywhere from like 75 to 100 and $105 or something like that. I think we would have saw resistance. We'd have flipped this previous consolidation area channel into resistance, use that to break into the golden zone, consolidate and hard push up and towards this, $70, $100 level. We didn't get that. Matter of fact, what we got was a bit of a pullback here. And now that we've gotten a ton of overlap and we've created all of this liquidity in this little area, it's going to be just difficult. It's not going to be easy for Chainlink to make that move. And so for Chainlink, I just do need to start seeing more progress. I need to start seeing it's working its way up. I do think that it is a decent time to accumulate if your average cost is like low or high. If you're trying to lower that average cost, I don't think it's a terrible time. I don't particularly see Chainlink, falling more than 50%. I think coming back towards like $7 is fine. I don't think Chainlink's going like $2 or $4. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think the upside is obviously much, much grander than the downside right now. And so for me, I think that Chainlink's not a terrible purchase. It's just, it lost a lot of its strength as a result of what we saw this year. So that is a bit concerning. I will say that. You think ETH will hit? I appreciate Navdeep. I appreciate the $2 donation. Big shout out to you. Much appreciated, my friend. And you said, do you think ETH will hit 45.50 this year? Yes. When? I don't know when. Obviously, I can never give a time frame because that's just be a blatant guess. But I do think that it is reasonable that if within the last 6 months, if all things do go according to plan, we see altcoin season, and not the bullshit altcoin season you get force fed by the media, but like just a bullish period for alts. If that does happen, I think that ETH pushing up towards that $4,500 mark sometime in the last 2-3 months of the year does make sense, but a lot has to happen between now and then for that to come to fruition. Okay. Okay. Where's that guy? I know he said something. There we go. He's still tucking me in tonight, right? Yeah, Tyler Hill Jr., you're wild, bro. Okay, let's look at a couple more, but I think you guys get the general picture here. I can look at Litecoin for funsies. So the last time that I talked about Litecoin was in like April or May, and I actually told you guys like, hey, we have this golden zone towards the bottom. We are towards the bottom side of this ascending structure. I think doing a little bit of an accumulation towards the bottom side is not a bad idea. Since then, we have now seen Litecoin's price push up. I mean, it gave us a pretty solid runner of like 60%, and then it is now, of course, retesting the top 50% of the channel. I think there's a world in which Litecoin does try to make another run back up to like 165 or so. I don't love this ascending channel. These are never really that good. It's not really what you want to see because so much liquidity is being created that it's hard to maintain it, and usually you'll break down out of it. But it does seem as if the cards could be aligning for Litecoin to try to make some sort of sorry, I woke up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. but make some sort of run back up towards the top side. I see no reason as to why that can't happen, especially considering how much room to the upside we have. So for me, I don't think Litecoin's in a terrible spot. It's still sub 50, which is generally a decent time to be accumulating, but I would just be wary. Like I wouldn't be aping into Litecoin just simply because of the fact that it is in a structure that is difficult to maintain within, and at any given point, it might just capitulate out of it, okay? So with that in mind, I don't think Litecoin's in a worse spot, not in the best spot. It's in an okay spot, and if you're a big Litecoin fan, doing a little accumulation right here, trying to catch some sort of move back up towards 155, 160, 170. Not the end of the world. Not the worst thing. Not the worst thing. Worst idea ever. Jake Gordon, crypto, keep grinding. What's your plans for the bear? Well, first and foremost, shout out to you, Jake Gordon. I didn't get to catch you in Vegas. I know the guys, the Fluence team caught you. I didn't get to see you. We were super busy meeting with some of the guys and stuff. But much appreciated to you. Shout out to you. And if you guys haven't checked out Jake's channel, make sure to go check it out. It's Jake Gordon Crypto. Much appreciated, homie. But my plan for the bear market is pretty simple, man. So I've been taking a lot of profits off the table for the last it's been a while. Like I've been taking profits pretty consistently. We can go look at my buy sell bubble sheet. All of the red circles is when I've been taking profits. So I have pretty consistently been closing down some pretty decent sizes of my portfolio and just stacking a lot of cash aside. And that's just my primary focus. Stack a bunch of cash away. While we are still in a crypto bull market, I have been reinvesting a ton of my profits that I'm just pulling from this into real estate, into stocks. I invest usually like anywhere from like $800 to $1,000 a day into VOO. I'd also do like $800 to $1,000 a day into like just my crypto portfolio, which is just like my macro Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, whatever. That's why we're in the bull market. When we're in a bear market, I'm going to take all of the like reinvestments that I'm doing in like real estate and the stock market, and I'm going to just kind of repivot those back towards crypto. So like right now, I would say I'm actually investing into crypto less than I'm investing into anything else, and I think I'm just going to flip flop that around. So when the bear market does come around, what I'll do is instead of buying, trying to pick up like a rental here, an apartment here, or whatever it may be, like once a month or twice a month or whatever it may be, what I'll try to do is I'm probably going to shift back and saying, okay, I'll scale back on my real estate investing by like a lot. I'll take a lot of that available capital, reassociate that with, Bitcoin, maybe ETH, depending on how ETH handles it, Solana, many of my macro alts. I'll go heavy into those ones. I'll probably not really narrative trade. I probably won't really futures trade a ton during the bear market because I think liquidations are going to be absurd. And I think that's the case. I think the simple answer here is I'm just going to heavily reallocate my cash back in to the crypto market. I'm taking a lot of profits off the table, and it is in my strategy and in my system that when I do take profits off the table, so like whenever I sell, all of these sales that I was doing in here, for example, what I do is I reallocate 40% of the profit that I took into a bear market fund so that when the bear market comes around, the second that Bitcoin's price, for example, starts falling below these exit points is when I can re-enter. It's what I did in the last bear market and the bear market before that, was reallocating the profits that I took from in the bull market to put it back into the bear market. So I am still sitting on that bear market fund. It's just been building. Yeah, but I mean, that's it. I know obviously not the best answer there, but really just reallocating. I'm going to cut back on the real estate. I'm going to cut back on the stock market. I'll probably go much more heavily on crypto. I'll prioritize Bitcoin. That is one mistake I've made like crazy in the last two bear markets, was that I didn't just focus on Bitcoin. I bought ETH and I bought Solana and I bought this or whatever it may be. And although it did play out well, I could have just timed it different, right? Because Bitcoin so like consistently outperforms the rest of the market during bear markets. It just does not make sense to not just focus on Bitcoin. So like when I'm reinvesting all my money back into the bear market, I'm going to go heavily into Bitcoin because Bitcoin is almost always going to give us those clues of when it's time to rotate anyway. So instead of reinvesting back into altcoins and watching that just burn to hell 95%, I can reinvest all of my profits that I've taken back into Bitcoin, probably lose 50-60% of that, and then ride that up a bit, allow that bad boy to simmer a little while. Then as I start to pick up those early, like, oh, we might be in a bull market time, then shift back into altcoins from there and try to capitalize. So it is a little timing, and I don't think trying to time the market is like the best thing ever. But I do think overall, when the bear market comes, I am going to heavily reshift my attention from real estate and stocks back into crypto. Two, I'm going to focus specifically on Bitcoin and avoid alts until I actually feel like the bottom is getting close. So that's my general plans for the bear market. Sorry for the long-winded answer there. Okay. You've been investing way too much. Don't got any money left to put food on the table. My bad. You guys know it's my kid. My 2-year-old is in the comment sections right now. So there's that. But yeah, go check out Jake Gorn's channel. All love, homie. The Crypto Cipher. Shout out to you. Much appreciated for the $2 donation, my friend. Okay. Do you think... Sorry, I feel like I'm staring so hard. I just feel like my glasses are not working well today. Do you think institutions and retail are maturing when it comes to crypto, when they're looking for utility to drive their investments? Yeah, I do think in general, the crypto market is maturing. I just don't think it's maturing fast enough. What are your thoughts on a good exit on AVAX if when alts run again? I think a good exit on AVAX... I usually have an AVAX on here somewhere. Maybe not. What are you? That's ADA. AVAX. I guess not. That's weird. A good exit on AVAX. I'm a Fibonacci guy, obviously. So I think like first set of exits starting between $50 and $75 makes sense. Layering at the all-time high around 100 to 150 makes sense. And then really having your expansionary, that's far. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see AVAX at $330. I would say probably like AVAX is one of those ones where it wouldn't shock me if it stalls out at its all-time high. So I would probably say golden zone is where I would start doing my first hard layer of take profits if I was accumulating right now. So that's between 50 and 80. I would then let it run up towards like 100 and start doing like a second and a half type of profit taking, and then take a lot of profits on AVAX at that all-time high, because I just am not quite sure it's going to be able to make a run up to 323 for its Fibonacci extension. I think AVAX has a lot of competition. I don't think there's anything super special about it in comparison to many of the other layer ones that it's competing against. And so because of that, I think it's going to have minimal liquidity in comparison to what it had back in 2021. And so because of that, I think AVAX getting a push anywhere here would probably be a good time to be exiting, personally. No hate on AVAX. I just don't think it's particularly all that special. Much appreciated for the other $2 donation, but what's your long-term view of Pyth? Let me go remind myself. Hold on. Let me go. I looked at Pyth the other day when I was on an airplane. Where is this one at? It's number 95, $937 million market cap. I mean, the biggest thing about Pyth is that it realistically just hasn't proven itself yet, right? So like it had a hell of a run. It did extremely well towards the end of 2024, which in my opinion does signal that there could be some possibility, some possible opportunity there, right? I think that would give it a market cap of somewhere around like 4 billion or so. So it made a hell of a run, but truthfully, it's not really proven itself. It's not shown that its community is strong enough to be able to handle and come back from bearish periods. And since there's so many cryptos out there, in the ecosystem that have gone through bearish periods, made it through them, and given us gains, I don't see a reason as to why I would prioritize Pyth over one of those. I would more say I want to see Pyth show me that it's going to be able to withstand the test of time before I was to do like anything big with it. What's your thought? Okay, did that one have to go? But thanks for going live today. Always value insights. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, Gary. Garay. Ondo will do better than Link, in my opinion. I definitely agree with SUI and Ondo for sure. I don't know a ton about Tau. Let's go, 14K. Shout out to you, homie. I've been struggling to trade. Any tips? Slow down. I promise you're doing too much. You're going too fast. Slow down. Hyperliquid is one that's been doing a ton of influencer marketing on the back end. I've seen a lot of deals slide across my desk about Hyperliquid. I think the fact that they're doing that alone, especially in a period where not many other companies are running mass marketing right now, I think does give them an advantage. But in terms of their tech, I just don't know a ton about it. What do you think on ETH Solana this bull market? I think ETH will do all right. I think ETH will probably this will be Ethereum's last bull market in control of the altcoin narrative, and I think Solana is going to continue to do what it does. Is crypto going to drop before leg 4? I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out, homie. What do you think about Arrow and ICP? I think I went over ICP earlier, and Arrow is one that I've just not really found much interest in personally. What to do with coins like Plume that are fundamentally strong but keep getting lower lows? Don't. Like, usually whenever they're like decently new, they're fundamentally strong, but they're putting in lower lows, sometimes they just don't have good luck, right? And I think crypto is a space of luck sometimes. Like, you need just good luck to see your coin run. And so, in my opinion, those are the ones where I just stop dollar cost averaging, buying the lows. Like, I don't want to just catch that falling knife too much. I just let it play out, accept the fact that I'm going to be negative for a while, and just give it some time. That's what I generally do. What should we do / buy if sidelined? I mean, it's totally up to you on your risk appetite. I think buying right now is obviously risky, but we are still in Bitcoin season, which would therefore insinuate that Bitcoin should outperform everything still. But if altcoins do start to gain some momentum against Bitcoin, well, then obviously alts would do better. So I would still say keep it pretty risk off. I would say Bitcoin or major alts is probably the smart play. Thanks for your response. You got it, champ. Okay, it's towards him. My average buy for SUI is $3.68 with liquidation at $2.72. Am I in a good spot? I mean, that's a pretty low liquidation level, so it seems like it on paper. SUI's at 340. I think you're in a pretty solid spot. It's obviously a risky play, but you are under the structural low, so I think you're in an okay spot. I wouldn't say to keep it. I'm not telling you what to do, but I am saying I think you're in an okay spot. What do people think Ondo will do this cycle? What do y'all think? Let us know. Let us know in the chat. What do y'all think Ondo's going to hit this cycle? No, Matt. Are we going to okay? See, cycles are writing things. Yep. Just trying to catch up on these. Don't spam XCN, please, or we'll have to mute you. It's always negative people in the comments talk about dumb. Like, bro, we just said it was good news. That's why I don't ever go up, because you got bad mindsets. Larry today was horrible. People are afraid of Powell will raise rates. Larry, today was horrible CPI data. People are afraid Powell will raise rates. I'm not going to address that. Okay. Honestly, thanks for your content, dude. Your honest and controlled approach has really helped me along with your TA. Much appreciated, Aaron. Shout out to you. Aaron Briscoe. Shout out to you, homie. Always happy to help. Let me know if you guys need anything. Oh, also, before I continue on with the Q&A, I feel like I'm being a bad businessman, so let me show you some shit real quick. A couple of things. If you guys are traders and you do want to start trading today, you can get that 10% bonus over on BTCC. If you do sign up today, you can get up to $10,000 per user. If you know trading, that's a great sign-up bonus. And also, you can enjoy up to 40% lower trading fees. If you trade with volume, you know how much money that can add up to. So I think it's a fantastic deal. BTCC is a really good platform where I do the majority of my trading on when I am trading. So if you want to check that out, the link to that is down below. And I know today I showed you a lot of this Discord server. This is the school. This is the crypto strategy school. And this is where I do post all of my buys, my sells. Everything that I'm doing goes here. So does Connor Kinney. I mean, go look at what Connor did the other day. I mean, this is just stupid. Like, $11,000 gainer, $8,400, $4,000, $21,000, almost $22,000 gainer there. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And this is translating into the community as well. The community is just going absolutely nuts. Like, we can just scroll and scroll and scroll endlessly over the last week, for example, and you can just see the gains that this community is locking in. Look at this guy, 1,500, 300, 2,000, like Big Belly Bosh Osh. And this, if I remember, this guy's like not even he's not even been in crypto that long, putting in thousands of dollars worth of gains. I mean, it's just been absolutely ridiculous. And I know I don't talk about it a ton these days, but the school is one of the best places in all of crypto. If you actually want to learn how to do this thing, I mean, like, it's just ridiculous. So if you guys want to check it out, the link will be down below. We have a bunch of coaches, a bunch of daily reports, a bunch of daily analysis. We have pro traders giving their signals. I mean, anything that you can think of that you may need is here in the school. So the link for that is down below. And last but not least, I will also remind you guys that if you do want a little bit of behind the scenes content from me, I have been posting a ton over on my Instagram. It may not load, which is fine. Here we go. But I do post over on my Instagram. I post a bunch of behind the scenes content, a bunch of extra content, a bunch of extra posts, some motivational stuff. Over on my story, I let you guys know what I'm doing throughout the day. If you ever want to ask me any questions, you can just shoot me a DM and I'll try to respond to it as much as possible. So feel free to follow me on Instagram as well. The link is down below, but it's Tyler Hill YT _. So there's all my shilling for the day. Back to the comments. Okay. Here we go. Maybe let's see if I can zoom in. Oh, dude, now I can see. Okay. Tars AI has been smashing it. Very good to see. Bear Man is live. What? Tyler, how did you teach yourself charts? I watched YouTube on technical analysis every single day, and then I did technical analysis every single day for 6 years straight. Yeah. Everyone asks about the coin they hold, but no one asks, how are you, Tyler? Sad. I'm great, man. I appreciate that. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm in the pursuit of something, and I feel like I'm always doing great when I'm there. Whenever I'm just stagnant, when I'm bored, when I'm not building, when I'm not working towards something, I get really sad, I get really bored. But whenever I'm in the pursuit of something, when I'm growing the channel, when I'm growing my business, because as many of you guys know, I run one of the biggest influencer relations agencies in all of crypto. We've had some absolutely massive, changes and stuff that we've been doing recently. Huge onboardings. We just brought on an entirely new, some new members of our sales team. We just brought on a COO, which has been fantastic, reduced a lot of weight off my shoulders. So it's been great. It's a 7-figure company. We got it there within just a year or two. So very happy with it. But again, building out these things has always been what makes me happy. So I appreciate that a ton. Family's happy, wife's happy, dogs are happy. All good. All right. Jose Aguilar. What's up, dude? Good to see you, brother. Okay. Yeah, no, Connor's always just off it. Connor goes crazy. Fairly new to your channel. Very much appreciate your content. Harley Z, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And happy to have you here. Thoughts on White Rock? I ran into White Rock at one of the conferences. They seem pretty cool, but I haven't really looked into it. What do you think about ascending triangle on Bitcoin 1 hour chart with breaking above the golden zone? Did we do that? Bitcoin 1 hour chart, golden zone. I think it's more of a consolidation area channel. I think we have a 50-50 range, which means that there's a key level directly in between a range high and a range low. So it's like a 50-50 bouncing range. And we're just going to bounce here for a while until Bitcoin decides what to do. This is a great little back test. I love this. This is really good. You cross 130K, bro. Change that by. Yeah, you're right. I never changed that. That's a good point. What does it say? Like 125 or something? Yeah, 127. That's crazy. Shout out to you guys, though. 130,000 has been pretty cool. Pretty cool to have. Looking forward to 8 million. Okay, school or shop, both. No, we did not have bad CPI data. I don't know what's going on. Do you think SUI will outperform Solana for the rest of this bull market? It's possible. All right, that's enough. Gonna have to go ahead and put you in timeout. If you guys spam, we're gonna have to mute you. You know how this goes. What are your thoughts on WorldCoin and the whole biometrics narrative? I think it's kind of gimmicky, personally. That just purely my personal opinion. It just feels a little gimmicky to me, but it could be super useful. I don't know. I don't know. Can I be your dog? I mean, I have 2 dogs. Got two dogs, 3 cats. I'd love to have 10 dogs one day, so I'm down. Tyler, did you see the China deal tweet? Yeah, I did see earlier that they created a framework to be able to, stop arguing and start kissing and shit. Yeah, it looks good. Rashid. Hey, big fan, man. Take love from Bangladesh. Much appreciated, homie. Happy to have you. Oh, I didn't mean to ban that guy. Damn. Sorry, Jeremiah. You're just spamming. I meant to mute you. I did not mean to ban you. Can you talk about the potential of the Bitcoin shortage and squeeze caused by institutional adoption and its effects on the higher cap altcoins? I think that there will be a day where the supply shock causes Bitcoin's price to really catch a lot of momentum. And I think Bitcoin's going to have 1 or 2 really more parabolic runs before the gains that it can be generated by Bitcoin are so minimal that they're not appealing to crypto investors anymore. And what they'll end up doing is they'll shift over to things like ETH, Solana, XRP, SUI, like whatever it may be. And I think it is going to naturally drag more liquidity in the direction of altcoins, because the perceived possibility of gains is going to diminish from Bitcoin and increase with alts. And that's going to be a narrative within itself. So I think all of these things that are occurring are going to push Bitcoin's price up into a point which it stabilizes to a degree in which investors don't find it interesting. Therefore, they shift to alts, therefore letting alts really dominate the market, at which point I believe ETH will be flipped. Couple more questions before we jump off for the day, guys. I appreciate you, Tyler. I'm going to join your school when the time is right. We love to hear it. Shout out to you. Happy to have you. Let me know when you do. Is a $4 to $10 XRP plausible for 2025? I think a $4 XRP makes sense for this. Ondo 5, and I'm happy to answer maybe more. Yeah, I think it's reasonable. Will the frog flip the dog? I don't know what that means. Are you talking about Pepe and Shib? Hi, my name is Shane, and I just wanted to thank you for all your insight. I find it very helpful. Well, Shane, shout out to you, and I'm happy to have you. Much appreciated. Appreciate the support. Normal flow liquidity with more potential for gains. And exactly, you get it. All right, guys, well, go ahead and ask 1 or 2 more questions. Feel free to do that, and then we're going to jump off. I would like to go live more. I am going to be home the majority of the summer in June, July, and then all hell breaks loose for my schedule after that. Like August, September, October, November, I'm just always going to, we have a whole bunch of stuff coming up towards the end of the year. So I'm home for the summer. I'm really trying to buckle down, get a bunch of things going, really get a lot of my stuff in order. So hopefully I can be going live, once or twice a week, give you guys your videos once or twice a day, keep you updated on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, whatever it may be. So yeah, hopefully I can keep the content rolling out for you guys. You and Connor are the go-to duo. I love Connor and hate him at the same time. Yes, will Pepe overtake Shib? I don't know. I doubt it. Institutions are buying and holding Bitcoin. Doesn't it mean that we'll never witness explosive altcoin seasons like 21 and 2017? I think it's more likely that we see explosive altcoin seasons as a result of retail investors, again, shifting their sentiment towards alt and not so much Bitcoin. Can you look at render sell levels for real quick? Yeah, sure thing. God damn. Okay, here we go. Render sale levels. Yep. So for me, I would say that we're probably looking for a more macro push, right? I would assume. But let's just start small on this one. I would actually say that my take profit levels for render would first be between 658 and 856. So I'd be taking profits within this golden zone, knowing the risk that's involved with it. I think any sort of push back up towards this little range up here makes a ton of sense to be taking pretty sizable profits, 30, 40%. Then I think taking anywhere from like 20 to 40% at each one of your Fibonacci extension levels makes a lot of sense. The first one being 18. I think if render was able to hit $18, I think there would be a major part of me that would probably do like almost like an 80% exit, because that would give us some sort of beautiful gain of like 6x. I think pushing up towards $31 is obviously a possibility, but not extremely likely, not within this cycle, unless we have some sort of blow off top altcoin parabolic period. So for render, I'm looking for, 650 to 850 for like a little profit taking, a good bit of profit taking right around that $12 mark, a lot of profit taking around that $18 mark. That's kind of how I would structure that personally, with, of course, profit taking happening in between then. I appreciate that, Abdullah. Much appreciated. It feels good. Being a married man feels good. Life's been great. We traveled a ton. We we went out to Mexico, we went out to Dubai, we went out to New York. I had to go to Vegas for some work trips. But we've done a lot of traveling. We have more stuff coming up here, so it's been great. I didn't think that being married was going to feel any different, but it surely does to me. So it's been great. Much appreciated. We'll follow you. Shout out to you. Hey man, do you have any price prediction for Ty? I think Ty is going to go back to 40 cents at some point. Do you see Bitcoin falling below 100 at some point? I think that's possible. Yeah, I think that's fine. Like it's reasonable. It'd be maybe a little hard, but it's possible for sure. I'd say like 40% chance. What crypto bros do you watch to gain additional insights to the market? I watch My Financial Friend when I want to know what's happening in like the more boring broad market stuff. I watch Connor when I want to know what's happening more that's going to impact altcoins, Connor Kenny. I watch No BS Crypto when I want more of a macro understanding of what's happening from the charts. I watch House of Crypto when I want more of a macro understanding of where we are within cycles and different theories and different like approaches of that nature. I watch I think that's all I really watch for the most part. Sam, Connor, No BS, House of Crypto. There's one other person I can't think. Oh, Investing Bros. Invest Bros has really been posting some fantastic technical analysis content. I've been watching him a decent bit too. Shout out to all of them. Go check out all their channels. Alrighty. All right, guys. Well, look, so I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up for the day, but don't you worry. This is not going to be the last stream I do for 3 weeks. I will be back either sometime early next week or in the middle of next week. We're going to do another live stream. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, but I'll be back. In the meantime, while I am gone, no videos today, but I will post a video tomorrow. But if you do want more content from me, don't forget you can go follow me on Instagram. You're going to get a bunch of content, extra things that I don't post here on the YouTube channel. So feel free to go check that out. We're trying to get this bad boy on up there. Also, don't forget that you can go follow or you can go sign up to BTCC. Go get some really good bonuses if you are a trader, and sign up to the school, which is linked down below, if you really want to get the ball rolling and actually start growing here in the crypto space. There is not one server that, in my opinion, or that is more valuable than this server in crypto, in my opinion, and it's only going to get better. And I'll be honest, it's only going to get more expensive. We have things coming out over the next 2-3 weeks that are going to absolutely change the way that people educate within the world of crypto, but that is going to come with a higher price tag. Okay. So I say some people who say, Tyler, can we go back to the school being $10? And they say, can you drop the price? And my honest answer is I can make the price more expensive. Right. So there is no better time than now. Feel free to go check that out. Not pressuring you, I'm just being honest. So feel free to go check that out. Of course, I hope you guys really, really, really have enjoyed today's live stream. And I can't wait to see you all in the next one. See you, everybody. Peace.